Changing from an accountant to working in textiles and design, not an obvious move, but yeah, I just reached a point in my life where I wanted to do something a bit different. I wanted to do something that I felt had more personal meaning for me. Tartan specifically, two aspects to it: head and heart. Head as an accountant, really quite, just really excited about the challenge of looking at tartan as an industry and as manufacturing in Scotland, and the fact that it is a global icon, such a famous cloth around the world. But you kind of start peeling the layers back and you realise the fragility of the industry that makes it in Scotland. So I thought, well, how could I help there? Could my experience really kind of give us an opportunity to do something a little bit different? But also the heart side was just around that whole concept of identity and emotional attachment to the things in our life. It's a balance of having enough things, not having too many things, but when you have that less is more, and that emotional memory and heirloom kind of feeling that you see in beautiful, beautiful objects, then for me, identity was a big part of what I was doing. I look at things in my life and people that I've lost, and so much of their identity still exists within my day to day because I see something that they used to touch or they used to wear. Tartan, absolutely is identity. You think of clan system, you think of all the other tartan designs that you can see today. They have such a personal story, be it one individual or be it a group of people or be it a movement or values. So yes, identity, but also how could I help this iconic industry really start to regenerate back in Scotland? The design process for us at Prickly Thistle is really getting back into, again, the identity, but it's the emotion behind the identity. I always say to people, can you imagine when this cloth is finished and you're either wearing it or you're sitting on it or you're gifting it? You've got this beautiful symmetrical or asymmetrical checkered pattern. And because tartan inevitably always asks the question, what tartan is this? There's a story of typically clan and family. Always think about what would you want to say to somebody when they ask you that question about that fabric. So we walk back from that point, and it varies whether you're working with an organisation, business or individuals. The stories are very different, but knowing what they want to say is where I start, and then that really starts to create the colour tones. It starts to really sort of confirm what the thread count should be, and it's not just colour. For me, the numbers are really important. Maybe that's the accountant, but the numbers are really important in terms of how many threads we have in each of those colours, because they can all pull up some really interesting parts of the story. Heritage craft, I think, is, it's something that is always protected in the sense that we all have museums and what have you to sort of archive and document all of these amazing artefacts and stories of people and events. And I think heritage craft is a really interesting one because there is such a historical, let's look back kind of approach. But what I like to throw out to people and challenge is the future history, which is what we're writing today. So future heritage and craft is really important. So that notion of history for me is really interesting, that you can say, well, it's the future is history in some respects. But also the craft, I think what I have come to really love is the sweet spots in our manufacturing history where we really embrace the balance of plant and people. We really didn't start to push the tipping point of because we could do certain things, it doesn't necessarily mean we should do. So when you look at craftsmanship, then that means there's people involved, and I think we've got to create quality around the world, fairer distribution of wealth, and I think that's by creating jobs for people and not necessarily an AI-powered amazing processing plant. I think heritage craft is also that connection to the history and to our identities, but also I think is the key to the future when it comes to building sustainable economies, sustainable communities. So there's so many parallels. It's not just it's romantic because it's the way we used to do it, and it's really interesting to watch. I think, you know, there's a really solid social economic argument for that going forward as well. So we specifically chose to reinvest in heritage skills because we have these amazing looms that are, you know, date back to the early 1900s, and they're slower. I mean, they're engineering works of art, and just to look at them, they're absolutely incredible. To hear them, you know, they bring you alive. Know that they were built to last, and that was that was how we lived back then. There's something really special in that message too, and I think there's all these segues as to why we do certain things. We're very much a Tartan paradox, I think, in terms of what we do. But the heritage looms are about, we did build things to last, which is a bit of a let's think about that in the future, but also that job creation. For me, it was really important to build a business, and this maybe conflicts with my accountancy training, where it's optimization, it's bottom line, it's efficiencies, it's how do we, you know, terms like sweat the assets, etc., which I fundamentally have kind of completely flipped to the other side. These beautiful looms, they need more people to be involved. We need to make sure that we've got enough fair quality jobs for everyone that's on the planet, and sometimes it's pulling back on that methods of manufacturing that we've developed in the last 50, 100 years, and kind of looking a bit more to the past, and then we make less. The word sustainability is something, thankfully, we're seeing really sort of talked about a lot more. For me, I like to really put the wrapper of ethics around it. And in terms of how important it is to us, it's literally number one right now. It's, you know, that ethical commitment to your materials, to your method of manufacturing, to the way you produce the garments, to the way that you help inspire your customers how to look after the garments, how we're designing out waste. So they've got this infinite reimaginable use of fabrics over fashion is what we like to see. So in terms of it being sustainable, I think where we are 2024, I think it's really clear and evident that we need to do more around consuming less, consuming better, and really thinking about the beautiful natural materials that are gifted to us and how we can be custodians for them, as opposed to consume and perhaps dispose and not know where it goes. So yes, it's massive, but it's you know, it's not just one aspect. I think there's a lot to what sustainability means.